Welcome back. You're watching Citizen Extra. We're now into the third hour, and of course at the end of the, or at the top of the next hour, we'll be handing over to the Kiswahili team to take you into the next part of Citizen Extra. But for now, let's take a look at the vetting of cabinet nominees. Now, from today, Parliament's Committee on Appointment is expected to begin the process leading to the vetting of 3 cabinet nominees named by President Uhuru Kenyatta last Friday. That will include inviting a memoranda from members of the public on the suitability of Ukuri Atani, John Munyez, and Keriako Tobiko to sit in cabinet. Now, Jackie Maribe breaks down that process.
Tuesday, and the Parliamentary Committee on Appointments is expected to begin the process leading to the approval or otherwise of President Kenyatta's 3 nominees to the cabinet. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi, is however out of the country till the 15th of this month, attending a Speakers' Conference in the Seychelles. The prerogative of kicking off the process will therefore lie on the Deputy Speaker. Majority Leader Aden Duale, however, says the 14-day window period for vetting is as good as on.
So once we receive, then the 14-day window given in the Public Appointment Act starts. So the Deputy Speaker, the Leader of Majority, and the Minority Leader are all automatic members of that committee, and the Speaker. So in the absence of the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker will call a session of that committee first.
The names are already submitted to the office of the Speaker, and once the initial 7 days lapse, it is expected that the Speaker will be back to convene a meeting where the nominees can formally undergo vetting.
And because the House is on a long recess, me, the Leader of Majority, now will write to the Speaker to call a special session of the House, a full day, morning and afternoon. So that in the morning we table the report, allow members to read the report, and then afternoon to commence the debate for either approval or rejection.
The committee has 19 members, 12 from the ruling party and 7 from the minority. The Speaker, his deputy, majority and minority leaders are automatic members to the team. However, the opposition says it will not participate.
Kenyatta and Ruto have come to realize that the presidency that they are claiming to occupy is illegitimate. It lacks what I would call the mandate of the majority of people of Kenya.
That mediocrity is now the reigning norm in this country. But that is not for us. It is not our cabinet. We have even told you that our members will not participate in the so-called vetting.
Minority leadership or the opposition in this country, they are speaking from both sides of their mouth. In Parliament, they have taken their seats as the minority, as the opposition. And once you take your seat in Parliament as the minority leadership and also occupy the 2 important chairs of the Public Investment and Public Accounts Committee, you are confirming legitimately that you are an opposition wing.
Duale confident the vetting will sail through owing to the ruling party's strength in the committee and in the House.
Jubilee has the required quorum, plus the Speaker there will be 13, plus the Deputy Speaker there will be 14, plus the Leader of Majority there will be 15. So we have 15 members. The quorum is 9. And any committee of the House can commence any business and conclude it as long as the quorum is there.
We are not ambiguous on it. We have said that we don't care. It doesn't concern us what Uhuru and Ruto are doing or Jubilee in its entirety is doing.
The country continues to anticipate the naming of the other nominees to the cabinet, with sources indicating that could happen as soon as this week, with the administration keen to kick things off by start of February. Jackie Maribe, Power Breakfast News.
Indeed. Let me get some quick comments from my guest here in studio. Steve Ogola, an advocate of the High Court, now joins us for this discussion. And Steve, I will start with you. I want to get your reactions to that story, but in addition, your thoughts on comments by a section of the opposition that the ministers that were retained by the president should also be vetted. Let's take a look at the law. What does the law say about this particular process?
Vetting is a consequence of appointment. So have they been appointed or not? If they have been appointed, they must be vetted as at a minimum requirement. That's a practical sense issue, and let's not split hairs on that.
Okay, so appointment versus transferring from one department to the, from one ministry to the other?
This is a new government. It has succeeded itself in government at the ballot, and therefore everybody serving in the cabinet is receiving a 5-year mandate, presumably, and every cabinet nominee must be vetted as per the law established. So there is no opportunity for those cabinet secretaries who were serving before to succeed themselves in office without going further vetting. That would be illegal, and that would expose the government to unnecessary litigation, which I think is what the government should not require now. Talking about litigation, I think the government must also take note when the president is composing the cabinet to be careful to observe what the court said on 20th of December 2016. Justice Onguto directed the president that when he is reconstituting the cabinet after the election, he should ensure that the cabinet meets the 2/3 gender threshold. There was no clarity whether the cabinet was part of those organs that required to meet the 2/3 gender threshold. That matter was litigated and was decided definitively. There is no appeal on that judgment, so we can expect that of all the 22 cabinet secretaries, including the president and the deputy president, that we will get at least the threshold in the constitution is 9 women. I hope the president will nominate 9 women. Otherwise, if he fails to nominate 9 women, he may be exposed to further litigation. Insofar as the participation of the opposition in vetting is concerned, well, the law is not removed from common sense. It would be desirable that all of them participate, because when the opposition is having their input there, they are likely to require more scrutiny insofar as their suitability, capability, competence, and the integrity of those nominees are concerned. But if the minority of the opposition wing do not wish to participate, of course, vetting will proceed. I don't think there can be an interpretation in law which would lead to an absurdity. If they willfully decide that they don't want to participate in the vetting, those who are there, and the minimum is set in the law, will continue to vet those the proposed nominees, you know, for the cabinet, and once approved, they'll assume office as per the law established.
You've actually tackled 3 topics within one comment. Thank you, Steve, for that. I'll come back to get more clarification and thoughts from you. Javas, let me come to you now. A reaction, of course, to that story by Jackie Maribe and some of the thoughts that Steve has brought into this discussion.
One, I would start by saying that there is a penchant in this country by our leaders to tinker with the law and to invert logic and common sense. And that is why we get all this brouhaha about whether it is proper for the nominated persons for cabinet to be, to be vetted, all of them, or some of them to be vetted and the other to be left out. One, this is a new mandate that was given to this Jubilee administration pursuant to the provisions of law after that election that was conducted on October 26th. It is only proper then for us to ask ourselves whether the President of the Republic is having very wise legal counsel by the individual who is, by provision of law and establishment of his office, the Attorney General, giving him the proper legal advice. It is necessary that the President then drinks from that well of logic and wisdom, and also appreciate the place of our laws in this country. Moving forward then, it is just proper, because there is nothing that he stands to lose or his nominees stand to lose if all of them are subjected to to the vetting process that Parliament, the Parliamentary Committee is supposed to do.
Could it expose perceived mistakes they made? Could it expose inefficiencies in how they carried out their business within their ministries?
The question of exposition itself should not even worry anyone, because if an individual did not perform his duties or her duties in a manner satisfactory to the general public of Kenya and the oath of office that they took, then such individuals should not actually be serving the public in that capacity. And it would be a very nice process of sieving those who are right for that office. We need not assume that the vetting process is a question of just having individuals pass through the conveyor belt of the process as provided for in law without the necessity of seeing whether these individuals are worth of such office or not. And that's why the importance of vetting is in place. So it must not just be seen as a cleaning process that should not pass through the purification of light.
Mark, I'm sure you have a lot that you want to say on this. Coming now.
The first thing is, I think Steve Ogolla should start campaigning seriously for the position of Attorney General. His decision on the law is quite
Is that
clear.
your New Year's message to him?
That's my New Year wish to him. That being said, let's understand something, that we are no longer in high school, where we are afraid of the prefect coming to inspect our boxes because we've kept more blue band than we're supposed to have kept before. The culture in this country where we treat vetting as though it is an exercise where you're going to be dipped in a cattle dip and come out wet for the next day is ridiculous. Vetting is good for the nation. It's good for the nation to know, what did Matiang'i do? Was it above the law? Was it above par? Did he do the right thing? This is good and healthy for the nation. But one of the facts that we also need to face, that in as much as we assume that Jubilee is inheriting itself, let's remember that before then there was a coalition. Now there's a single party that has taken office. So it's quite important to know that things in this nation, they are changing, and we need to accept that there is change. That being said, it is quite ridiculous, in my view, for NASA to boycott vetting, and because it's disadvantageous to them, because it's a prime opportunity for them to expose any weaknesses within Jubilee. That's what opposition does. That's what you live for as an opposition party, especially if you're an opposition party with such a large minority as NASA. You cannot relent at every opportunity to take the chance to expose what is wrong with the sitting government. And therefore, it is good for them to be there to be able to vet. Because if they are not there, then this will not be a vetting exercise. It will rather be a military parade and a show of might for the cabinet secretaries that have been there. Because if you ask me to vet myself, I will tell you how handsome and nice I am.
Oh, thank you for that. And let's pause this debate because I need to quickly catch up with a live interview that's about to happen. Dennis Otieno bringing us an interview with the Kenya Power CEO Ken Tarus. I know they've just unveiled their new chairman, Mahbub Malim Mohammed. I believe that's what we're going to be told about shortly. Let's now cross over there.
Thank you very much, Dennis Otieno. Like we had said earlier, during our AGM on the 1st of December last year, we had the nomination of directors, and we had 2 new directors coming on board. We had Sibora Kering and Engineer Ambassador Mahbub Mohammed. And today we had our inaugural board for this financial year. And during that board meeting, the directors sat and nominated Ambassador Engineer Mahbub Mohammed as the chairman of the board of KPLC. Engineer Mahbub Mohammed is an engineer by profession, and he's worked in the various sectors of government, including being a permanent secretary. Indeed, he comes in with a lot of experience, and we expect that he will drive this institution to the next level. He comes in as the 26th chairman of the board of directors for Kenya Power and Lighting. Thank you very much.
And what's the tenure for his period?
It's normally 3 years, but of course it will come up on rotation, and fresh appointments or nominations will be done.
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Done?
Okay, you may not be able to see Dennis Otieno, but he's the one conducting that interview, just giving us some thoughts about the transition at Kenya Power with the announcement of the new chairperson and, of course, being unveiled at their Stima Sacco offices. And he was just having a chat there with the CEO, Ken Tarus in regards to that. Well, let's wrap up the discussion now in studio on the vetting of cabinet nominees. I want to give each of my guests a minute or so to give their closing or final thoughts on the same topic. And Steve, I'll come back to you. Can we assume, because of the majority that Jubilee has, that for the cabinet nominees, they are all but in the cabinet as we speak, or are there ways in which challenges could come in the way to block some of them from ascending to that post?
I mean, if you're assessing from the functional independence point of view, then you can expect that the National Assembly, even if the Jubilee administration has a majority in Parliament, that they will rise above the party lines and then interrogate the suitability, the competencies, and the integrity of those people that have been nominated to serve without having to clear them simply because they have been nominated by the President. That is what the Constitution requires, and I hope members of Parliament will not demoralize Kenyans by failing to discharge that duty effectively, because if they fail, then people will begin to imagine that Parliament is no longer as independent as it is intended to be, rather that it's becoming pervious to external or executive manipulation, which will be a bad thing. So we can only assume and hope that, assessing from Parliament's previous functions, I think they've done well before, and there's no reason to believe that they will give this the proposed cabinet nominees a stamp of approval without necessary interrogation if there is need to.
Okay, and Javas, let me get your final thoughts as well.
Well, I would say that there is the greatest expectation by way of how our politics is generally played, that none of those individuals who has been nominated will be rejected by the parliamentary committee, because we know very well that they are playing to the tune of the executive. And given that the executive, of course, the Jubilee Party has got the majority, that likely all of them are going just to finally get approval and ultimate appointment by the President. Though I think the argument being escaped is through not just a question of those individuals who have been nominated, but whether they themselves are suitable, and the composition of the entire cabinet very suitable to work toward achieving and realizing the very promises and commitments that were made by the President and his deputy during the campaigns, and ultimately cementing his legacy. It is also proper that we ask ourselves, those individuals who held previous public office, did they serve it and serve in those capacities in a manner that is satisfactory, that they are now, they can warrant, or they can suitably fit into the new executive position as cabinet secretaries? Those are the questions that not only Kenyans should be asking themselves, but even members of that parliamentary committee. And if we look at it that way, then we'd ask ourselves whether the President, and even with the pending nominations rather, will have to do Kenyans greater justice and greater good by picking those individuals who will serve this country in a very clear manner and satisfactory manner, and also submit to the quest of meeting the gender balance that is required.
Okay, and brief, please wind up.
Yes, and if we have to appreciate that, then we would ask our leaders, going by the story that was aired a little earlier, to actually stop speaking with water in the mouth.
Okay, what a way to finish it. Mark, let me come to you. You're lucky you have the final say. Go ahead.
A number of issues. Number one, it's incumbent upon the new cabinet, if they are going to be vetted, to be able to deliver on the President's manifesto, and specifically on the Big Four, since the President considers those 4 items to be his legacy. However, if you study what a successful nation is, you need 2 things. Number one, you need a change in culture, and number 2, you need a change in innovation. What is a change in culture? This cabinet has to address the Kenyan culture of corruption. It has to address the Kenyan culture of inexcellence in everything that we do. We've got to address our bad manners as a nation, because it does not matter how many forks you give a village boy, he will still eat with his hands. And we need to sophisticate our culture. We need to develop a culture where it is wrong for you to spit on the road. It is wrong for you to stop your car, your very expensive car, and decide to take a leak on someone's fence. These are things that are wrong, and we need to address what is the Kenyan culture. The second part that we need to address is how do we innovate as a nation. Every nation that has developed in the last 30 years across the world has had to innovate in terms of economy and industry. And And innovation has to be one of the key things we have to watch for, because if we look at our 2-star ministers in the last 15 years, it has to be Michuki and it has to be Matiang'i. Why? Because they innovated within the law to create solutions that worked for Kenyans. So what we need is people who can innovate. We need Juakali ministers.
I took a break there so that his words could sink in, and that's how we wrap up this discussion. Thank you so much, Steve Ogola, Advocate of the High Court, for finding time to be here with us and to bring in the law into this discussion. Javas Bigambo, a political analyst, and Mark Bichachi, a communication strategist as well, for finding a couple of minutes to come here and be with us on Citizen Extra. Well, let's now talk about paper, plastic bags and the ban 4 months later. Now, after the government banned the use of plastic bags, a number of vegetable vendors and businesses are yet to adjust to this new system. Despite enforcement of this directive, plastic bags remain in circulation in some parts. Mercy Kandie now brings us that report.
He's known as Chris Wasupu, who is known for his soup. He says it's in the skill how it's prepared. But the business is seeing some down times.
Sibu mingi ifika mingi tunamwaga mingi. Para uza subu 1000 na sasa tunauza 200. Kiana sana ni 200.
But there's a good side. At the Kisumu Ndogo market, Uasin Gishu County, Margaret Okoth, like many vendors here, are happy with the ban. The surrounding is cleaner, they say.
Sasa tunaona ni vizuri sana sababu hiyo makaratasi hata vile NEMA ilipotesha walifanya vizuri kabisa. Ilikuwa inaharibu mazingira kabisa. Kwa mfano unaona hapa nyuma yangu kuna mtaro. Napata tu wenye kutumia baridi na peperusa inachasa hapa. Hapa hivi sasa sahi ungekanyaga vile umesimama hivyo.
Many had to improvise, but the popular name plastic paper bag stuck.
Paper bag ya polythene, lakini bado sio polythene, ni paper bag ya mfuko hii.
At the market, almost everyone carries a carrier bag. Change was inevitable. They say they saw its advantages. 4 months down the line since the government put a ban on the plastic bags, the vendors in the market have taken it upon themselves to comply without supervision.
Gazeti tunanunua kwa kilo moja ni $50. Hii serikali iendelee kabisa na hii paper bag iendelee. Bag
The vision for a better environment and a sustainable one is getting a push. The Uasin Gishu County Assembly passed a motion compelling supermarkets to provide free alternatives to shoppers.
As I said, the members of the County Assembly of Uasin Gishu approved a motion moved by one of us, Honorable Dr. Kadrin Barmau. We saw it is a bit of punishment to the customers. If the price of a bread is only 50 shillings, then you buy a bag of 40 shillings. Then the price of that bag, of that bread, actually, realistically, goes up to 90 shillings. So it is not realistic.
That motion, according to Majority Leader in the Assembly, though not legally binding, is expected to set the pace for the country.
I've just given you a real example. I have 100 shillings, I'm buying a bread, 10 shillings remain, I buy rat and rat. And I package all the two items in one bag, then I go home and I feed the same bread to my kids. But for those people who don't have somebody to speak on their behalf, as leaders, we need to come out and speak for them and make sure that things are done the right way.
The motion, Lowoi says, will hopefully have an impact beyond the boundaries of the county. NEMA had stated that it was up to the county governments to implement the ban. 4 months and counting, the ban is yet to be fully embraced by the public. In most towns, the polythene bag is still in circulation. Some vendors are still selling their goods to customers, a willing buyer, willing seller basis. About 20 people in October 2017 were arrested for possessing the banned bags, while in November, a businesswoman in Nyeri was arraigned in court after being found with 17 types of banned plastic bags. Here in Nairobi, a businessman was slapped with 100,000 shillings by a Kibra court after he confessed to being in possession of 15 bales of plastic bags. But even with the 4 million shilling maximum fine or a 2-year sentence hanging over the heads of offenders, some people are just too willing to take the risk. Mercy Kandietanui, Citizen TV.
Right, and joining me in studio to talk a little bit about the impact of the plastic bag ban 4 months later is the Director General of NEMA, Mr. Geoffrey Wahungu. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Welcome to Citizen Extra. And I immediately want to get some reactions to that story that we've just watched. We've seen some officials talking about how some shoppers, because of the plastic bag ban, have now been forced to put all their shopping into one big recyclable bag. I hope I've said that correctly. And they're exposing themselves to dangers because you're putting food with chemicals, etc. Have you received complaints such as these since that happened?
Thank you, Ahiga. Yes, we have many complaints. I think there is a misconception about the whole issue. I want to sit very clearly that it is not the duty of the owner of the shop to manage your packing. If you have shopped for something, it's your duty to have the receptacle. Either it's there for you to buy, or the person selling to you has decided that to add value to the product, they can actually give them to you free or surcharge them. There are many models that can be done to that. But I want to state it clearly that you need, when you are going to shop, to plan what you want to shop and carry the necessary carrier bags to carry your shopping in, separately the way you would like them. It is indeed, I think every Kenyan understands exactly what the health implications of that is, and therefore planning well ahead of your shopping is important.
Is what you feel is important. So you disagree with Uasin Gishu County, who had moved a motion that I believe actually passed to compel supermarkets to provide bags at their own cost to shoppers. You disagree with that motion? You feel that the supermarket should only provide you with the products? As to how the products will move from the supermarket to your house, it's up to you?
We have given counties the discretion to implement this in their own way. You will realize that county governments are governments in their own right, and therefore if their law says that, they know how they can actually implement that together with the shoppers. If it's a requirement, then if you want to be a trader in Uasin Gishu, then it means you have to fit to those laws, and they are very specific to the county.
So you respect whatever laws the counties will pass. As NEMA, you won't say this must happen or that must happen?
No. They have the discretion, and we respect what they have to say. It's only the trader who has to fit into whatever rules there are for the county where they want to engage in business.
Let's talk about another issue that, related issue that came up in that story that was done by Mercy Kandie on Sunday, and the issue of the cost that the plastic bag ban has had on consumers. You have a consumer who possibly, is struggling to make ends meet. They go to a supermarket to pick 4 products that they cannot put in the same bag. They have to buy 4 different bags. That's possibly 40 shillings at least. It could even be more. And these are costs that they have not envisioned. What do you tell such a consumer who's thinking, listen, I agree, we need to save the environment and so forth, but you are hurting my pocket with your directive?
Sure. I think that we have to look at the overall good of this initiative. The plastic bags ban was done after a lot of outcry from the same citizens, some of who are breaking the law now. As I said before, if you want to shop, the most important thing is to plan. If you look at the cost, it's just because in the past people are not used to footing this bill, and then now it's some bill that they have to accommodate. And I think this is a new year. I think within our planning, because it's a very insignificant part of the whole overall shopping, that cost of the plastic bag. And out of the time, because we were used with over packaging, we still have to get used to having all similar items lumped together. And out of the time, like you go shopping, you have a trolley, you have a car even, you perhaps don't need any of those packages at all. You can have some compartment in your car that is actually partitioned to accommodate many of the things. And then for those of us who perhaps don't have a car and use a matatu, you probably cannot carry 4 different items into a matatu. So we really have to think about this and try to see the overall good of this and stop complaining about small issues about the cost and really work hard to support the government, because the same environment that we are cleaning is for the good of citizens. You'll save a lot more in the health costs, because environmental health is important. A lot of the drugs we are buying, you can decide, would you buy drugs to save you from ill health, or would you like to take that cost, pay for the bag, and eliminate that risk?
Okay, you've called it a small cost. Not everyone thinks it's a small cost, but everyone, has their opinion on that. Let's broaden this discussion. 4 months.
Small cost comparatively.
Comparatively.
I have used the word comparatively small cost.
Okay, that changes then, what you've just said. 4 months into this ban, what sort of data do you have into its uptake? Do you have data on which counties, for example, have adhered to the ban, which ones have not? Do you have data on how the environment has been affected by the plastic bag, ban? What can you tell us?
We have data to show that particularly areas, pastoralist areas, the dry areas where paper was not being used a lot, but where it was being blown into the environment. We have data from monitoring on highways and the mop-up of highways. If you look at the highway today, Wahiga, you'll see that most of the plastic, especially the carrier bags, green, black, yellow, those types, are now missing from the highways, and what we have remaining now are the plastic bottles, the ones we carry liquid in, water, these soft drinks. We also have data to show, because we've been monitoring in abattoirs. We don't have conclusive data now, but we've been monitoring the plastic we are getting in the gut of animals that are turning up for slaughter in these houses. We are also doing a lot of monitoring in the markets. We don't have conclusive data now. One thing we have been disadvantaged about is how soon, and I'm happy about Uasin Gishu, which has taken up very fast. We want other counties to come forward and make this an issue so that it can be debated. Right now, what we are looking at is the initiative with counties so that they can actually help us. And I agree with what has been observed, that there are still some members of communities, particularly small-scale traders, who choose to take the risk irrespective of the cost. We are not looking at it from the fact that NEMA can actually engage in the long chase with hawkers every day the way the county government does. For us, we want to deal with the producers. We want to work with the manufacturers.
Cut off the supply at the source.
At the source. And therefore, we would like county governments to actually come, and we are engaging at that level, so that once all counties have constituted the cabinet, they can actually take that up and control for us, particularly in the market.
How many small-scale traders or large-scale traders have you arrested or fined because of using plastic bags, contrary to the directives that you gave?
So far, by yesterday, because even yesterday we arrested dealers in Nairobi with intelligence information, we have over 80 arrests.
Okay.
And it is true that there are people who are out on bonds of about 2 million. The prosecutions have been slow, of course, but this is not something which can we cannot hasten what is happening in court. Those who have pleaded guilty have gone with fines, and over 12 people already have done that.
Fines of up to 2 million, or even more?
No, we haven't had the big cases. Of course, they have refused, so they have put they are already out on bonds, but the small ones, the small traders have pleaded guilty, and they are out on fines of from 30,000 shillings to 100,000 shillings, one even 500,000.
Okay.
And therefore, if you look at over 80 people and counting from different stages, because we have large manufacturers, for example, that we have arrested also, we have distributors, we have retailers, and then users, depending on the legal costs. In the end, we expect that at least within a reasonable time, that we'll start now getting the fruits with prosecutions that are going to be successful. And we have already a very good legal team that is working on that.
What challenges have you experienced in enforcing this ban so far? What do you say have been your key challenges?
Impunity. The first challenge was, of course, that some of the stakeholders that were supposed to work with us were in denial that this thing will happen. And when it did happen, the first challenge was when we wanted people to come for clearance to manufacture those non-banned items earlier, but they were already in denial and held until the last minute. So the first challenge was to clear, because the first thing was don't produce until you are cleared. So we had a backlog, and we had to work in shifts. Our staff were working overnight to do the clearances. And then the second one after that was, of course, we have almost 100% on carrier bags, but we have quite a considerable amount of success, but not fully on the small flimsy ones, the ones that Mama Mboga has, and the ones that we occasionally come across carrying, liquids. Those are the ones that we are now engaging at that level, and the ones that I'm saying, the coming in of the county government will really assist us, because it seems we cannot monitor every Kenyan. We need a duty that every Kenyan can take this up and work with us. We have other challenges that we have received, of course, have been the issue of where you have some traders bringing in stuff from Uganda, for example. This is a big issue, and we are monitoring that. Because we are aware some of what we are arresting is actually coming from our neighboring countries, Ethiopia and Uganda. We are monitoring that at the borders, and also at the borders with Ethiopia and the borders with Uganda. But by and large, I think we have a lot of goodwill from Kenyans. Okay, and in fact, and on that note, I want to talk about what Kenyans are saying about this particular discussion. Let me read a couple of SMSs. This topic actually eliciting a lot of SMSs, meaning that it's dear and near to a lot of hearts of those watching. One is a question: why does NEMA allow big companies to pack their products in plastic bags like bread, salt, and many others, while small-scale traders are not allowed? So remember that one. Someone from Homa Bay says, I congratulate all those who have ensured polythene bags are banned, since the environment is currently tidy, especially in my county, Homa Bay. Another person is asking a suggestion to a discussion we've been having. Hello, I think by any chance, if the shopping bags are not taxed, it can be easier for shopkeepers to pack the goods for the customers at no extra cost. Have you considered that proposal? And Lomi asks, thanks for banning plastic bags. However, there seem to be some people still with the very thin bags. Who supplies those ones? And another one, many questions. I don't know how many you'll be able to take. What about garbage plastic bags? What's the way forward on that as well? So I don't know where you want to start. There's one on big companies. Yeah, versus small scale traders. I think I want to clarify that may very well be what is conceptualized. But I think, in fact, as we talk this morning, we have had a meeting with bread manufacturers or bakers. We have given them until July 1. This transition, of course, you'll appreciate, Wahiga, that it cannot be something that will be done instantly. So transition is important to us, and therefore we have technical committees at every level, because we categorize manufacturers, for example, if they are doing grains, for example, millers, the ones who are doing bread, the meat and the butchers, those handling mineral water and all the beverages, and then bread. Bread, we have given them a transition. We have a working team which is working, and we expect that they will transition to products which are acceptable by July 1. The next one is... someone also asked about garbage plastic bags and very thin bags that he's also seeing in the market. Okay. I didn't finish the first one. And therefore, the small-scale traders, the SMEs, who might think that we are not allowing them, if you actually come to NEMA, because we are doing clearances, we've cleared even individual business people, even people who own kiosks. Those who have interest in saving the environment and interest in their business have come to us. And therefore, we are not dealing with any individual. Those bakers range from the guys who sell kangumu, a small thing, to the ones who are selling bread. So there is opportunity for all. Plastic for bin liners. Yes, for bin liners. Those have been exempted, and we have already actually created awareness on the same. It has even appeared in newspapers. We've been talking about it in social media. However, we are only allowing bin liners for people or companies that we have licensed as handlers of waste. Remember earlier we had also told citizens that if you have any paper that you don't want to declare and remove, take to the recycling centers, you can actually use it to take out garbage. And we think by now, anybody who was holding paper, unless you are selling, you have already cleared your stock and put garbage in it. So right now, if you are in an estate or in a suburb, those bin liners are not going to be available for sale in the shop. The guy who is supposed to come and remove your garbage
is the one supposed to supply.
The one supposed to supply you with that. There are specifications for it. They know that, and then remove it out.
Okay.
Because we don't want those to be taken back as carriers.
Okay, I see. Our time, unfortunately, is almost up. Just the questions are really coming in quickly that I've even stopped asking you mine because people just have many thoughts. Someone is asking an age-old question. The small paper bags we used for packing githeri in the fridge, are they banned? What's the alternative?
The small papers are banned, and that adds to the question about the flimsy ones. The ones
yes, actually, it's related, in fact.
Yeah. But we have already provided a solution to that. There are so many small plastic containers which are being thrown outside and which can be recycled. We have already created awareness that all the savings of food and small items that you used to keep in those polythenes, all these other plastics which are clear or unclear, which are used for ice cream, for Bluebird, for any other packaging material,
you can recycle.
Those are already available. Even in the market you can buy and use them to recycle and put fridge. There is only that small space in fridge, I know, but that convenience is something which we can be able to overcome if we actually think about the convenience versus the pollution issue of the plastic versus the small cost of
That's right. Finally, we know that the plastic bag ban was stage one of what NEMA would want to do to clean the environment. You spoke about plastic bottles. Are there plans to ban plastic bottles? Are there plans to ban other substances that could be causing, pollution in the environment moving forward?
The next big thing is PET bottles.
Okay.
But we have already received a lot of attention. In the past, what we were lacking is attention from manufacturers and the business community. We have received a lot of attention. We are already working on a very elaborate take-back scheme, and we are monitoring that. If it doesn't work, of course, the option of banning is there for us. But for us, our next big thing is air quality. We like to reduce pollution, and we are preparing. We have already bought equipment for air quality lab. We are going to have Kenyans in the near future have their vehicles tested for pollution.
Okay.
All stationary and mobile facilities which emit pollutant gases are going to have to get tested.
How soon is this future? Is it 2018, 2020? What are we talking about?
Definitely 2018. I can't tell
this
exactly
year?
the month.
Okay.
This year, because test centers will be in counties, and therefore we are working with county governments because this is a devolved function. We'll have NEMA as the national center for control of standards, but we'll have counties license, each of them a center where you can actually take your vehicle for testing before it is licensed. Every year, every second year, we are working on that, but also at the port, so that when your vehicle is imported or any equipment, any plant that emits gases will have to be subjected to that. We are also working on indoor control of pollution.
Okay.
With DOSH.
Okay.
Yeah.
Director General, on that note, we'll have to wrap up this interview. Thank you for that time. Interesting thoughts, and of course we clearly want to follow how you roll out the next plan, which is of course to clean up the air, and also your thoughts on PET. I found those interesting as well. And even before we tell you what's happening on the international front in regards to sports, just some breaking news. 2 petitioners in Governor Mike Sonko election case file application to withdraw the petition challenging the poll victory. What this means is that the High Court has thrown out a petition against Governor Mike Sonko's election, and his victory has been upheld. So just to repeat that one more time, 2 petitioners in Mike Sonko's election case file an application to withdraw this petition challenging his poll victory, and the High Court consequently throws out the petition against Governor Mike Sonko's election and his victory